welcome to Young Turks in Mumbai. I'm Shireen Bhan. Well, what better way to showcase the city and its spirit to you than on board a BEST open-air double-decker bus. We're going to drive through over the next 30 minutes some of the hottest spots in Mumbai city and speak to some of the brightest professionals and young entrepreneurs. So here's a quick glimpse of what we have coming up. Well, our first guest in this episode is a former Accenture consultant who's come back, joined Rakesh Jhunjhunwala and decided to put his money where his mouth is. Let's catch up with Rajiv Agarwal of Rare Enterprises.
Hi, I'm Rajiv Agarwal. I'm 36 years old. I'm a principal with Rare Enterprises looking at private equity investments. 5 years from now, I see myself managing a large fund.
He started his journey as a chemical engineer and then switched gears to become a management consultant with Accenture. And after a successful 13-year drive, steered his way to Rare Enterprises in 2005. Meet Rajiv Agarwal, whose passion for healthcare and education drove him back home in 1996. So after Accenture, when ace investor Rakesh Jhunjhunwala called him in to assist with investments in sectors like media, oil and gas, healthcare and biofuels, Rajiv felt it was an instant meeting of minds.
Well, when I was studying my engineering, I just saw on my notice board there was something on Arthur Andersen and the work they were doing. It just looked very interesting. So I just joined them.
What about it looked interesting?
Well, the idea was that they were working with a lot of companies and it seemed that you'll get to travel a lot, meeting with different people in different countries, working with different types of companies. It looked interesting. And when you're just 21-year-old, that's what you like.
How different did consultancy finally turn out to be from what you'd imagined it to be?
Well, it was pretty much what I expected. I didn't have any preconceived ideas about consulting. Consulting is a lot of hard work, a lot of in-depth analysis. It's intense work. Sometimes working very different and difficult environments in terms of the companies you work with.
What was the biggest challenge for you to overcome in the first couple of years?
Well, when you graduate from college, you feel that with your quant skills and technical analysis skills, you'll do well.
Yeah.
But you gradually learn that
it's a very different world out there,
is very crucial for your success. So you learn the hard way that one needs to master the art of managing people.
So how would you sum up 13 years in Accenture for yourself? What did that teach you? Where did it take you? What was that experience like for you?
I think the experience was phenomenal. It's a great place to get your basics right. There's so much focus on managing your time more efficiently. So it teaches you to manage your time better. It teaches you to deal with different and difficult types of people at times.
What is it? Is it the lack of flexibility? Is it just being unreasonable? Is it high expectations? What is it that makes them difficult?
If you work for a multinational, typically the expectations on the client side are very high. So to that extent, you're always trying to prove a point to them.
So then why the decision to move away from Accenture after 13 years?
Well, I had met up with Rakesh and I just liked what he was doing. And it just was instant matching of minds.
Was it the vision that he had for the company? Was it the sort of India growth story? What was it? Was it a little bit of both that really prompted you to head
it's the
back
opportunity to work with a great mind and an outstanding human being. At the same time, the India opportunity.
Okay, everybody sees him on this channel, so we know the sort of market side of him. But you've given us outstanding human being and a great visionary. Take us through a little bit about what we don't know, the other side of him.
Well, he's a very transparent person. So most of his personal side is known to a lot of people. But having said that, he's a great person to work with.
Yeah, where he's invested is known to people. But,
yes, but as a person to work with, he's a great person to work with. One learns a lot. I think that's important. If you're
what has
working
been
with
your
him,
biggest learning from him?
I think his ability to take risks. That's the key.
Are you more of a risk taker now than you were?
Yes, I am.
Rajiv is currently a principal in the private equity arm of Rare Enterprises and is constantly on the lookout for high growth stories. Like Hungama Mobile, which creates content for mobile users. Rajiv oversees Rare's existing investments in almost a dozen companies. In fact, he's also on the board for many of them, like Aptech and Care Hospitals.
Rare Enterprises invests in companies, listed and unlisted companies. Even in Accenture, you used to work with companies in terms of helping them grow or to optimize their performance. It's similar work.
But here you're actually putting money into it, aren't you?
Yes. The difference is you take bigger risks. You're putting money where your mouth is.
Absolutely. It's just a very, very different ball game, isn't it?
Well, it is. You're much closer to the decision-making process. In case of a company, when you're a consultant, you're advising them. So you're always discussing pros and cons of different options. In this case, you take a decision, and you learn to deal with a lot of uncertainty because you probably won't have all the facts right all the time.
That's true.
When you're discussing an opportunity.
That's true. So take us through some of the investments that you have made while you've been with Rare, and you're on boards of some of those companies, some listed, some unlisted. A large number of them unlisted. How different is it dealing with listed companies and unlisted companies in that sense?
Well, it is no different. As I see it, the company has an opportunity. You have to figure out how the company can position itself well enough to seize the opportunity. So it's the same for a listed or an unlisted company. In a listed company, you probably have more compliance requirements in terms of disclosing certain pieces of information.
And you're pretty much sort of looking at different sectors. You're from hotels to the media to life sciences companies. How do you sort of sit and figure out which sectors that you want to sort of maximize on, or the companies that you want to maximize on? How do you actually spot an opportunity? How much of that is gut and instinct?
A lot of it tends to be it's a little of analysis and a little of instinct. A lot of the decision making is largely based on you're betting on the promoter's ability to seize the opportunities. So the mental process you go through is the same. Now the relative size of the companies could vary.
Yeah.
So I guess the mental process is the same.
So take us through some of the deals that you have done. What was it like actually stitching them up, and what did you go through while the process was on, and were there days when you actually thought that maybe you didn't want to go through with it, and days when you actually made up your mind and then decided to go ahead with them? Take us through typically what happens when a deal is being put together.
Well, we keep looking at few deals a week.
Yeah.
So if we like something, we spend a little bit more time with the management, understand it in a much more detailed level, and then internally discuss it with Rakesh Bhaiya, and we make up our mind pretty much in less than 48 hours.
48 hours?
Yes.
That's all it takes?
The company. That's all it
really?
takes. Yes. The difference is it's Rakesh's.
That's a surprise. One would have thought that due diligence and all of that would have taken a lot longer than 48 hours.
Sometimes it takes longer. The due diligence will surely take longer. But
just to say that we're interested or not interested.
Interested in the
so
deal
how many of you actually sit and huddle together and make that decision?
3 of us.
Does it work like a debating society at that point in time? And is there sort of one vote that reigns supreme?
Not really. There's a little bit of debate. Typically, we have a very set. We look for companies which has a large addressable opportunity, and the rest of the things we sort of document it and just discuss it out point by point. It really doesn't take much time.
So what sort of return on investments do you actually look at? I mean, what sort of time horizon do you look at? What is the picture in your mind at this point in time, given the sort of economic scenario, given the external, internal challenges and so on and so forth?
Well, I don't want to answer that directly.
Okay.
If you let me talk, let's look at the opportunity.
Yeah.
If you look at the education space.
Yeah.
There's a huge unmet need in terms of training people across levels, whether it's 10 plus 2, 10 plus 3, or even postgraduates. So the company is well positioned in that space. For it to double, it doesn't take much. Okay,
so education is clearly a sector that you are looking at closely. What else is looking good to you at this point in time?
I truly believe that new media, or emerging media as it is said, internet and mobile, will lead to a lot of disruption in the way we consume data. There are more people with mobile handsets than with computers. So that itself is a great way to connect with people.
And has this whole sort of Web 2.0 revolution different from the boom and bust cycle that we saw?
Companies are in a better position to leverage Web 2.0, whether they're interacting with their customers, suppliers, or interacting with any of their stakeholders, which would include employees.
Okay.
So Web 2.0 is really enabling. It is cutting down the lead time. It's cutting down the transaction costs.
Is that the hottest sector for you right now? New media?
For example, today, you know of examples of artists which are selling music directly on the web. And they probably made more money than they made through the record labels.
Yeah.
So that's the power of this new media.
So when Rajiv isn't looking out for new deals and the next big idea, he invests his time unwinding with his family. As the India story blooms and entrepreneurs grow, there is enough to quench his thirst. As his bets pay off, Rajiv is enjoying the sip of success. You probably meet the management of a company every day.
What is it about Indian entrepreneurs that you think is different from multinationals or global corporations who you might have had the chance of meeting while at Accenture?
Well, it depends on, even in a multinational, it depends on whom you deal with. Indian entrepreneur typically is very savvy, he's very cost focused and is good in grabbing opportunities. At the same time, he can deal with a lot of uncertainty. So it's just a pleasure to work with all of them.
Time for us to take a break, but when we return, the story of a man who's helping Tommy Hilfiger expand its operations in India.